Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. So I just got back from the record store, so today I'm going to be talking about my record store day Black Friday experience and the albums I picked up. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. So there wasn't anything that was super limited that I had on my Black Friday list. So my big question was, or the thing I kind of wrestled with, was what time I wanted to go out to the record store. The record store I go to for every record store day is one of the biggest ones in southeastern Michigan. So there's always a bunch of people there. So if there's something that is limited, I know I have to get out there really early. But this year I was kind of thinking, man, I'd kind of wait until, I was even thinking like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to head out, which I know sounds early to a lot of people out there, but typically I'm out at the record store sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. And the more I thought about it, even though Record Store Day Black Friday doesn't get nearly the crowds that Record Store Day does in April, there tends to still be a pretty decent crowd at the store I go to. So I decided to go out there. I got out to the record store it was about 2:15 this morning I got there. And I wasn't all that shocked to find out that I was third in line. So one thing I absolutely love about Record Store Day is hanging out in line all night long, talking about music, talking about albums. It's just a fun night, especially like I said, typically I'm out there for 7 to 8 hours. The record store I go to opened their doors at 8:30 this morning. So I was still there, like I said, I got there a little after 2, so it was about 6 hours or so that I sat in line. But that's not how it turned out. So I got out to the record store this morning, and in typical Michigan fashion, it was cold. It was like 28 degrees, and at one point it was snowing so hard I could barely see the building from my car. So for the first couple of hours, what everyone did was they just lined up their chairs next to the door and then went and sat in their car. So it was probably about 3:30, maybe closer to 4 o'clock, when people finally started showing up and sitting in line. But I didn't have a whole lot of interest in sitting out there in the cold and getting snowed on for several hours. So I actually just left my chair out there and stayed in my car. I didn't actually get out and get in line until about 20 minutes before the store opened. When I was younger, it'd be no problem, sitting out in the cold all night long. But I lived in the South for about 8 years, so ever since then, I'm not a huge fan of the cold weather. So I decided, it's probably better to sit in my nice warm car. And to my surprise, when I got out, I'll put a picture up on the screen here. So this is about 20 minutes before the doors opened. There's a solid at least 150 plus people in line already, which is still a little bit less than what the store had last year for Black Friday. But I still think it's a pretty good turnout. And to compare that line to what a typical record store day in April line looks like at the same store, in April, the April crowd is typically, 400 plus people. And the store does a great job getting everyone's orders processed pretty quickly. So what they do, and they just started doing this, I think it was in 2020 with COVID. So they kind of got this idea from Amoeba out in California. So what they do is they do these wish lists. So when the doors open this year at 8:30, they give you this list, and it goes in order with how you're standing in line. So you go through this and you mark off what albums you want, take your little ticket here, and they pull the orders in order. So being third in line, I knew I was going to get the albums that I wanted. And the one thing I was a little surprised with, the guy that was first in line, he said he'd been there, I think a little after midnight he got there. So, me personally, I didn't think the list was great this year for Black Friday. I mean, I don't think it typically is, but for people to be out the store that early, I was really surprised by that. So when I left my house and went to the record store, I knew there was 4 albums for sure I wanted to grab. And then I got to the store and was sitting in my car, and the more I thought about that U2 album, so the U2 album for Record Store Day is How to Reassemble an Atomic Bomb. So those are the extra tracks from the How to Assemble an Atomic Bomb box set that just came out. But it's like they call it a shadow album. So it's, I think, 10 tracks that weren't on the original album. So I thought to myself, hey, it's available on streaming. I'll go ahead and listen to this and see what I think of it. And of those 10 tracks, I thought several of them were pretty good. But the more I thought about it, I was like, well, even though the price isn't terrible, I want to say it was like $25 for that album. The more I thought about it, I've been trying to be more selective with the albums I pick up lately. I shouldn't say lately. Over the last 6 months, I've been trying to be really selective about what I pick up. And the more I thought about it, it's like, would I really listen to that album enough to really justify picking it up? So I ended up knocking that one off my list. I decided to not grab a copy of that one. And the other one I was considering was that Doors box set, Live in Detroit. I've heard nothing but great things about it. The price kind of put me off. $80. I really didn't want to spend that much because I try to stay within a budget. But because I was really only looking at 3, maybe 4 albums to get for sure. If I picked up that box set, I would probably still be within my budget. But when I got my list this morning, when they hand this out to me, I looked at it 3 or 4 times and decided, you know what, I'm just gonna pass on that for now. There's been multiple times that Record Store Day has passed, and I've gone through that process and had that happen, and regretted not picking up that album. The Doors box set might be something I regret later on down the line. We'll see how it ends up working out. So ultimately, I think I picked up the least amount of albums I have for any Record Store Day since probably Black Friday 2018. I only grabbed 3 albums this year. But of the 3 albums I picked up, I'm pretty excited for, especially this first one. I'm a huge fan of Stone Temple Pilots, huge fan of the album Purple. So I grabbed Purple Rarities. So these are all demos and acoustic tracks off of Purple, which I've long considered. Well, I think it's one of the best albums of the 90s. It's probably one of my most listened to albums of the last 30 years. I think the artwork's kind of cool. First of all, I will say it says celebrating the classic album's 30th anniversary, rare alternate versions and outtakes from the Purple sessions, limited edition Purple vinyl. There's the hype sticker for Black Friday. I mean, I think the artwork's kind of cool. And I have the Purple Super Deluxe Edition, so I've heard all these before. These are actually some really good, there's a couple of really good acoustic versions on this album here. And I was hoping to save that the hype sticker on there, but I wasn't able to peel it nicely off of the plastic. So that's another thing I've been trying to not to do lately, is really worry about getting the hype sticker off, because it really doesn't matter. What really matters is the music that's on the album. So I got the shrink wrap off. You can see the cover up pretty. Like I said, I love the artwork on it. There's the back cover of the track listing. Hey, the one thing I can say is this wasn't a very inexpensive album either. I want to say this is like $24, $25 I paid for this. And look at that. It came in a polyline sleeve, something that there's $40, $50 albums I bought recently. Heck, there's a couple $100 box sets I bought recently that don't even have that. So it's nice to see that it's at least in a polyline sleeve. And then just on purple wax there. I know this is super nitpicky and it really shouldn't matter at all, but even though it is a $25 album, I still would like to see some kind of insert in there, whether it's lyrics or something, pictures, some kind of insert that go along with it. Over the last several years, I've become a pretty big fan of the Rolling Stones, so of course I had to grab a copy of Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. It's a great live album. I think this was November of '69 this was recorded. A lot of their bigger tracks from the 60s are on here. Sympathy for the Devil is probably my favorite track by the band, and that's on here also. So, of course, I had to grab a copy of it for Record Store Day. There's no hype sticker on here, but it does have an OB strip. It just says exclusive limited edition, 180-gram red and white striped vinyl, lithograph on archival paper. So that's what it looks like. There's the back cover there. Let me open this up here. I wish they would number these, though. It's the one thing I can say about, one thing I loved about Record Store Day before several years ago was most of those albums were numbered. I've noticed over the last couple of years they've gotten away from that. Something I'd like to see them kind of return to. And the one thing I can say is the last couple of Rolling Stones RSD releases have all been fantastic. I'm sure this one's going to be the same. But there's the front cover with the shrink wrap off. And then there's the back cover. The back cover is a bunch of pictures from the 2 nights that this was recorded over. I'll get the insert out here. So that's cool. Like I said, now this is kind of what I was talking about with the STP release. Something simple. Just put something extra in there other than just a blank album or just a blank sleeve with the album. Like I said, I'm sure it means absolutely nothing to most people out there, but it's those extra little bonuses that I think kind of make the RSD release a little more special. Same thing, comes in a polyline sleeve, which is always a great thing. And then it's on that red and white striped vinyl. That looks cool. I love the candy cane design to it. I guess my question for you guys out there, what do you guys do with these? Do you actually keep these OB strips on the album, or do you keep them inside the jacket, or you just throw them away? Because I've got a couple, like it doesn't really impact this, but I do have some albums where when you leave the strip on, it covers up a lot of the artwork on the album or even cuts off part of the album title. So let me know what you guys do with those strips. And then that brings me down to the one album that made me go out and brave the cold, at least for a little bit earlier this morning. And that is the Ramones' Greatest Hits. I've been a huge fan of the Ramones for a very long time. It's the first time it's ever been available on vinyl. I will say the reviews of this so far are not great. That was one thing I talked about in my preview video, was this thing was like almost an hour's worth of music. It probably should have been on 2 LPs. Probably would have sounded better that way. But, I'll clean this thing up and see how it sounds myself. So for the hype sticker on here, it says the definitive Ramones hits collection on LP for the first time. 20 of their most loved songs celebrating Ramones' 50th anniversary on translucent red vinyl. There's the hype sticker there. And I was successful in saving the hype sticker off that one, so that's kind of cool. I'll, because I always clean my albums up, put them in resealable sleeves, so I'll put that on the outside of the new sleeve that's going to go in. So there's the very famous album artwork. There's the back cover of it. Oh, that's kind of cool. So I don't think there is an insert in here. So the insert, there's the insert, Ramones. And then I'll show you on the inside. This is kind of cool. These are nice little touches that I think is kind of cool about some of these RSD releases. It's kind of hard to see, but on the inside of the jacket, you have the Ramones logo, which is kind of cool. Well, like I said, those little added bonuses. Once again, polyline sleeve, which that's always great. And then this is just on translucent red vinyl. Looks like a nice clean album. I'm still going to put this through the ultrasonic cleaner, clean this thing up, give it a spin, and see how it sounds. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. That was my record store day, Black Friday. It wasn't as fun as it typically is, like I said, because most years I'm able to sit in line, talk music all night long. Didn't get as much time to do that, like 20 minutes this morning to do that. But standing out in the snow for several hours, I had zero interest in doing that. But let me know how you guys' RSD experience went. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.